The Smiles family is by far the most famous Roblox myth, spanning multiple games, a mini ARG, and collaborations with Flamingo himself in order to create one of the most confusing Roblox stories to date. And with the recent release of Night Watch, the latest installation in the Smiles saga, I feel it is time for me to finally dip my toe into the pool, before anyone else does, and dissect the lore and story of the Smile family saga. Like I said earlier, this rabbit hole goes super deep, and it stretches from the dawn of time itself to the ripe year of 2013. And after countless hours of playing the games, solving secret codes, and watching all of Albert's videos, I think I've finally cracked it. So, without further ado, buckle up, and be sure to like and subscribe so that we can hit 10,000 subscribers. And without further ado, I present to you the full lore and storyline of the Smile family saga. Before we truly jump into it, I just want to give a huge shout out to Swift Sunshine for once again being super awesome and just helping me put this whole thing together. Yeah. Alright, so let's actually get into it. So, finding a place to start off is pretty difficult at first glance. Thankfully, pretty much everything in this series has dates to work with, so it would only make sense if we started things off where it all begins. 18 million years ago. During that time, a meteorite crashed into a lakeside island known as Hallam Island in the US state of Connecticut. But this wasn't an ordinary meteorite. It contained a powerful alien-like demon known as Diamond Eyes. Diamond Eyes was a creature that fed off hatred, grief, and other negative emotions. However, it appears she lay dormant for millions of years until being awoken in the year 1910, when Hallam Island was first being settled. It was at this time, based on newspaper clippings that we can find, that the house was first being built at this time. According to many pictures found throughout the games, we can assume that the house was finished construction in 1912. During the construction, it appears the hole Diamond Eyes fell into all those years ago was uncovered and explored, as represented by the rusty things and other types of humanoid stuff we can find down there. The commotion appears to have woken up the ancient alien, and she began biding her time, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. That time would come decades later in 1936, when an infamous masquerade ball took place. Two attendees of the party were Lloyd and Joe. Later that evening, Lloyd found Joe unconscious outside the house. He possibly choked on some food or something. Overcome with grief, Lloyd was visited by Diamond Eyes. She struck a deal with the man that if he caused a gas leak inside the house, she would bring back his friend. The gas leak was essentially a sacrifice, which is something that we would see Diamond Eyes ask for a lot in the coming parts of the story. Lloyd complies and messes with the valves in the boiler room to cause the gas leak, killing everyone inside. She then double-crossed Lloyd by possessing both him and Joe, turning the two friends into her puppets. In the days, weeks, and eventually years following the event, the public came to accept that the whole thing was just an accident, and the dead were buried on a nearby island. And for many years, the island lay dormant and uninhabited. But let's just leave that alone for now and jump to the year 1952, to the events of the game Submarine Simulator. In this game, we follow the adventures of Brian, a grieving father who's lost his daughter, and who journeys to the bottom of the ocean and encounters a demon named Jerry. Just like Diamond Eyes, it seems Jerry also feeds off of negative emotions, so it calls into question if he's an alien as well or not. I mean, both are found in deep, dark holes, and, both kind of look pretty similar. So it's not too much of a stretch to think that Jerry's also an alien. But I digress. By the end of Submarine Simulator, Jerry hitches a ride onto the pod and returns to the surface along with Brian. Brian and all the other scientists are killed, and Jerry is let loose onto the world. Now, I have a theory. This isn't confirmed, but it's pretty heavily implied. I think that Brian actually lived in the Hallam Island house. In Submarine Simulator, we see that Brian's home looks very similar to the Hallam home, including having the exact same TV and lamps. Additionally, we know that the first place Jerry goes to after being freed from the depths is to the Hallam home of all places, which took a few decades. It would also fill in the gap of time between the aftermath of the gas leak and the arrival of the Smile family. We then cut to 1966, which is the beginning of the Smiles family, consisting of Robert and Nancy Smiles. They have 4 children, named Leo, Matthew, Seth, and Claire, in order of oldest to youngest. We don't know exactly when they were all born, but it happened between 1966 and 1994. Robert later lost his wife and oldest son in a car crash in 1994, likely orchestrated by Diamond Eyes so that she could use him for his grief and turn her into a puppet later. Robert was, of course, overcome by grief, and he slowly began to lose himself in medication and looking into ways to bring the dead back to life, as we can see on his computer. The Smiles family purchased a therapy dog to help cope on November 23, 1994. We can also tell that this is after Nancy and Leo died because they don't appear while playing the game, and Robert is on his medication. Unfortunately for the Smiles, their dog had been possessed by Jerry, who had traveled all across the world from the Mariana to Connecticut in order to terrorize the new owners of Brian's old house. Fortunately for the Smiles, they are being watched over by a guardian angel, an omnipotent being known only as the Gorilla. Now let me pause right there and let you all know that I know exactly how ridiculous this whole thing sounds. Trust me, I know. But we're going to have to disregard the fact that God himself is depicted as a giant monkey in the Smile universe if we have any hope of reaching the end. The Gorilla can be spotted everywhere. While he's essentially God himself, we mainly see him watching and observing those who set foot on Hallam Island, and Brian too, which also adds to the theory that Brian lived in the Smile home at some point. He's trying his best to protect all those from afar from the evils that plague the land. He succeeds in protecting the family until November 27th, the day Albert, or the player, arrives to first meet the Smile family. Jerry reveals his true form to the Gorilla and tells him that there are more forces at play, and that another, stronger than Diamond Eyes herself, is still out there. Jerry leaves and is yet to be seen again. During this time, Robert falls more and more under the control of Diamond Eyes, and on November 27, 1994, the main game begins. The events of the Flamingo YouTube series play out in essentially the same order and way they do in Albert's videos, eventually ending with Seth, Matthew, the player, and Claire all pitching in to burn the Hallam home to the ground that very same day. Robert Smiles was possessed and killed on the same day in the flames. Fast forward to 2013, and although the Smile children and the player have moved on with their lives, they still are haunted by the memories of the past. Eventually, they are called back to the remains of the Smile family house, where a hole in the ground has been revealed. But it's not just any other hole. This is the very same hole that the builders of the house discovered and explored nearly a century earlier. The player and the Smiles explore the cave and eventually find Diamond Eye's lair. After a long struggle against the alien, and after teaming up with the omnipotent Gorilla, the player pushes Diamond Eyes into the eternal abyss, where they were never to be seen again. With the threat defeated, the souls of all those lost to Diamond Eyes were put to rest, and the story finally reaches its end. Or does it? Because remember Jerry's warnings? Not to mention that he's still out there. And it seems that whoever he was working for also is. Additionally, in the 2D sections of Night Watch, we are playing in the burned down house of the Smiles, long after the events of even the end. Additionally, the events of Night Watch, at least the 2D sections, pay a striking resemblance to a game that's either not out or cancelled at, I'll just show up on the screen because I forgot the name of. What does this all mean? Well, with the release of Night Watch, it's safe to assume that the Smiles family story isn't over and might just be entering its new chapter. Only time will tell. But anyways, that's all I've got for this video. If you've enjoyed, please be sure to like and subscribe. We are so close to 10,000 subscribers. It would be so cool to reach that milestone. You have no idea, guys. But whatever. See you all next time. Bye.
Ooga booga, go back to Africa.